Hey, hi, hey, and I'm finding my Massage Secrets PDF. What do I say after that? Changed it. What did I say? Don't know how to do this. Top shoulder massage. Earthquake!
How are you doing, Lynn?
Good.
You can, so the, no. Okay, well, you need a massage. Oh, yeah. This is not gonna be an outtake. This doesn't count. Okay. Wow, that felt really cheesy. That was better.
Hey, my name is Amanda Miller. I'm a board-certified massage practitioner. What I've shared with you are my top shoulder massage secrets that I've been collecting for over 10 years as a massage therapist. So why would I do that? I'm passionate about teaching, and I'm passionate about sharing. It's important to me that you have the tools that you need to be able to combat stress in your life and in the lives of those that you love. Stress is a major epidemic in our lives. We're bombarded with it constantly every day. It's linked to every major disease. Stress sucks. Massage is an easy and enjoyable way to combat and relieve stress and discomfort, even chronic discomfort. So what I do with the PDF is give you the ability to completely transform the way that you do massage, not just so that the person in front of you has an amazing shoulder massage. I have made the technique so easy to do that you will literally be able to do it for hours, for days, for months. Okay, hours. Seriously, so easy. But if you're more of a visual learner, then you can click the link to the side of this video. I will personally take you step by step through the PDF and show you exactly the way that I do it so that by the end of the video, you are already a master at all of the techniques. And I give you a few extras that aren't on the PDF. Now, this type of personalized instruction, you would normally have to be certified and go to a massage workshop to learn, which would cost you a couple $100s and a few days of your time. I'm going to give it to you right now for $7. So click on the link because I'm really excited to share with you. Are you coming? Come on.
Hi, and welcome to your massage video. I'm Amanda Miller, and I'm going to show you the most amazing shoulder massage techniques that are the easiest you've ever seen. Now, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make it a good situation for your person and yourself before we actually get into the massaging. I have my beautiful friend Lindsay here to assist us so that I can use her shoulder and neck. This particular routine is best when you have a person who's sitting. You want to have them in a place that's in front of you, but also where they're lower than you are. They're sitting, then you're standing. You want to be sitting and have them sitting, on the ground in front of you. But anytime you're level with them, that's going to be really difficult for you, and you'll see why in just a minute. The ideal space where you want them is where when you bend your elbow at a 90-degree angle, that you can kind of just rest your forearms on their shoulders. This is perfect. That's exactly what you want to aim for. Any higher, it's going to be difficult. If they're a little bit lower, that's fine. You can just, squat or bend over that's easier than too high. So when you have your person sit down and they're expecting a massage, one thing that you want to be sure to create for them is a safe place. You're going to get them in a very nice, relaxed mood where they're probably not going to be super aware of what's going on around them. For some people that you're close to that you enjoy teasing, this might seem like the perfect opportunity to, jab them in the ribs or tickle them or startle them. Don't do that. What we're letting them know is that you're a safe person at this time, so be sure to respect and honor that trust. The key to a great massage is that massage is not all about muscles. That's like saying the best cookie in the world is all about the flour. There are hundreds of different components that go into making the perfect massage. I'm going to give you a few of those today. One of them is paying attention to their level of stress and discomfort. This has a direct effect as to how effective you're going to be on their shoulders. If they're really stressed out and clenching their muscles, then you're going to be fighting them to get to any kind of comfort level for them. You want to address their stress and help them to relax. And we do that by addressing the nervous system. So even if what they've asked you for and sitting in front of you and saying, oh my gosh, I have this knot right here, just jam it, just get it out of there. This is never relaxing. We're not gonna do that. We're going to be nice and easy, and I promise you we will get in there, we'll get that knot, we'll get the depth, but in a way that is still really pleasing for them and easy for you. The number one question that I get as a massage therapist is people asking me, how in the world do I massage shoulders without my fingers getting tired after 10 seconds? What's the first thing that a person typically does in a shoulder massage? This, right? And then you're doing this. That is putting some of your smallest muscles in your body against one of their biggest muscles. The key, the secret to that is, don't use your fingers. I like to use the palm of my hand and what I call the blade of the forearm. It's in between your wrist and your elbow. In the 10 years that I've been doing massage, being classically trained and lots of experience, I rarely use my actual elbow. I am constantly using the blade of my arm, and I'm going to teach you that industry secret in this video. Another tool that I find really useful is a massage tool that allows me to not have to use my hands or my fingers at all. And this is it, pretty simple, right? It's 2 stainless steel balls and they're hollow, so they're very light. If you see how my hand is curved around it, my fingers are in a nice rested position. A lot of the massage balls and little hinky-doos that are on the market today, your hand is more in this position, and that, that's very crampy for the fingers, and then also not a very good position for the wrist, and so you're here. Whereas with the ball, I can line it up with my palm, which is what I use anyway on a massage, and be able to put that pressure on them. Now, since it's metal and it's seamless, it's very smooth. So what this means is that I can take it over dry skin, and notice I'm not rolling the ball, I'm just holding onto it and sliding along the skin, and to be able to address layers of muscle over clothing, over hair. It's not going to pull over sensitive skin. It feels really, really nice. Also, because they're metal, you can heat them up or cool them down, and that is an amazing added benefit according to what you're looking to do for them. Also, they don't react with anything. So if you do want to use a lotion or an oil, even essential oils, they're not going to have a reaction to these. And even though they're hollow and very thin, they can withstand several hundred pounds of weight. So just about anything that you're going to be using these for, they're going to hold up for a very, very long time for you. It's my favorite tool. I'm going to show you how to use these bonus and your hands. And if this is something that looks like a good fit for you, I'll have a link for it at the end of the video where you can buy one. Okay, so the first step that we're going to do is what I call light touch. And this is just with the pads of your fingertips. So I'm going to be touching Lindsay with just the pads of my fingers. But I'm not going to be dancing my fingers on and off her skin. That's something that might feel better in a different type situation, but that's actually stimulating to the nerves, not relaxing. So if I were to do that to her right now, pretty soon she'd just feel irritated with me. So it's important to keep a consistent touch, but very slow and firm, okay? And we're doing 2 things with this. One, we're making a connection and saying, hi, I'm here. How are you? We're going to be spending some time together right now, and start to get those signals going through the brain where they can settle down and relax. The second thing that this technique is going to do is create the boundary of where we're going to be massaging. So she'll know that this is where my touch is going to be during this massage. I'll start somewhere along like where the shoulder blades are, near the spine. It doesn't really matter, there's no specific pattern. Just be sure that you have consistent touch and that you go slow. This is not relaxing, but this is. You're gonna want to do this consistently for about 30 seconds. Okay, or until you see them relax. Sometimes they'll take a deep breath, their shoulders will kind of sink. But if you don't feel any type of sign from them, that's okay. Just go for about half a minute to a minute, and then you can move on to the next technique, which is called compressions. Now compressions does a similar thing, but we're accessing a little bit deeper layer of tissue. We're bypassing the most sensitive nerves and kind of telling them, okay, now you're relaxed, you can kind of shut off now, we're gonna go down to the next layer. Compressions are the entire hand placed on the body, and you're just gonna give a little push. And that's all it's going to be, it's just a little push. And then you'll lift up on the pressure and scoot your hand, still keeping constant touch, and then push. And this you want to do for about the same amount of time, okay? And take your time. You know, you're helping them get to a state of calmness and relaxation. And if your moves are hurried and excited and annoyed or irritated, then you're gonna feed that to them, and neither of you are going to have an enjoyable time. Okay, so now that you have them nice and relaxed, with your light touch fingers and your compressions, now we're gonna go into what's called kneading. Now this you're gonna do with the palm of your hand, and if you've ever kneaded bread dough, it's very similar to that. This technique is deep enough that you're gonna want to be very aware of where their bones are, because you don't want to push on them. It could be painful for them, and it could be for you. The bones that you wanna watch out for are the spine, so right along the middle here. And then you have the shoulder blades. You'll have a good idea of where those are from doing your compressions. And then there's the tops of the shoulders. There's a little bone that kind of pokes up, and you want to be sure to avoid that. And then if you're going any far over the shoulders, you want to be aware of the clavicles. None of those feel good to be pushed on. One thing I like to do is to rest my forearm of the side that I'm not massaging on their shoulder. And just kind of give a little bit of a pull back towards me. This does two things. One, it lets her know that I'm holding her up, so that she's not wondering, is she pushing me over? Because if I'm applying pressure here, you know, it's kind of pushing her up, and then she's gonna wonder, oh, am I supposed to relax forward? That takes the guesswork out for her, and it also gives me a little bit of leverage so that I can push a little bit more if I want to. So with the kneading, again, you want to go slow and just pick a spot. It doesn't matter where you start. And I just do little circles with my palm. Now I'm down in between the spine and the shoulder blades, and come up on the tops of the shoulders. And even if their muscles feel really tight and you're like, oh man, this feels like a brick in there, I don't think this is doing any good, still follow through with the technique. I promise you it's making a difference. And then there's a really nice muscle group just on the other side of the scapula that's right in where the crease of the armpit is. So it's in between the bone of the shoulder and the bone of the scapula. It's called the teres muscles. Okay, so that's kneading. And then you want to rest your forearm on this side and then remove this arm to start the kneading. You always want to keep constant contact with your person so they know where you are at all times, because especially if they're starting to get relaxed and their eyes are closed, it can be a little disruptive for you to suddenly be gone and then suddenly be there. That's a little startling for them, and they might get pulled out of that relaxation that you've done all that hard work to get. So this is the first place where I'm going to demonstrate the body ball. So you saw with the kneading with my hand how I was rotating and doing a fair amount of muscle work with my arm in doing that. When I have the body ball, all I need to do is this, and it does the same thing. So now I'm just doing an up and down motion. You can see there's a lot less work for me in my wrist and in my elbow. The one consideration you do want to be careful of is that if you're not sure where their bones are, if you're not able to feel it through the ball, you just want to be very careful that you're not, scraping over bones with the ball. And there's kneading. Now the two most common areas that people complain about are the tops of their shoulders and down along either side of their spine in between their shoulder blades. And that's typically where there's a lot of knots and a lot of tension. So we're gonna give extra attention to those two areas. So the way I do that on the tops of the shoulders, instead of squeezing with this kind of a pressure here, or pushing, with compressions, I'll use the blade of the arm and I'll lay my arm down. And this is where it gets important that they're at a lower angle than you are, because then you just lean. And so now I'm just using my body weight. This is very simple. I'm having to support my shoulder so it's not, collapsed up by my ear. So I'm flexing my own shoulder to make sure that that's in a nice place for me. But then that's all the effort I'm putting into it. But I'm giving Lindsay a nice pressure that's consistent on a sore spot on the top of her shoulder. So when you push down on this spot, you're gonna wanna hold it for about 10 to 30 seconds. And that's going to feel like a very long time to you. But your person is really enjoying it, so you want to stay consistent for them. Now, whenever you're done with this spot, then you're going to lift up on the pressure before you move, okay? You don't wanna have that pressure and then rake that across the rest of their muscle. That's painful. So pressure, hold, let up, scoot. And then you're gonna push again. And this is what you're gonna do for the whole length down the top of the shoulder. After you're done with the tops of the shoulders on both sides, then we're gonna wanna target this spot up the back. Okay, and that feels a little bit tricky because, it's laying this way rather than, how do I get a hold of this spot? This is also actually a technique where I use the blade of the arm. I told you I use it all the time. So we're gonna have it in an upward angle, and I set my legs apart, so I've got a good stance so I can give a little bit of forward pressure this way, okay? I'm gonna set my arm down and making sure that, her spine's here and her shoulder blade's here, and I'm in between that space. And then I'm gonna take this arm, and remember how we braced before with the forearm? I'm gonna do that again, okay? And then depending on, the size of your person and the comfort level that you have with them, you can reach all the way around to their other shoulder and hold, but it's not necessary. And then you're gonna push, and it's kind of a push in and a push down at the same time. And then that is going to get you the pressure into that muscle. So you want to hold this compression as long as you are the one that you did on the tops of the shoulders. You're doing a very important releasing technique right here, so you want to be sure that you hang out long enough to have the full desired effect that you're going for. And then same thing, when you lift up, and then you can kind of roll down, go a little bit deeper, and hold again. Now, one of the key secrets to doing an amazing shoulder massage is actually massaging the neck. The neck is a place where a lot of tension is held. In a massage, it's a really great place to target. To be able to get the neck, it's obviously muscles that they're using, so you want to support their head. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. I like to put my arm, so my actual, past my elbow up into my bicep, onto their shoulder, so not the elbow, but past that, and put my hand on top of their head, and then they've got this little, I'll do it on this side, little support to kind of lean their head against. Now, some people don't have flexible enough necks to do this, okay? That's how stressed out they are. So if their neck really can't go side to side, then you can just use the palm of your hand. Make sure to not palm their ear. That gets really uncomfortable, especially if you're at all sweaty. That gets bad pretty fast. So be sure to not cup their ear, and then they can rest like that. But it's easier for me anyway to use my whole arm. And there's a few different ways that you can address the neck. So this is one spot where you can use your fingertips, and you're just gonna push and rub just like you were kneading with the shoulders, except this is with your fingers and on the neck. And you just go up and down the spine. Now, in the whole neck, there's a lot of things to be concerned of with a lot of pressure, but most of those are in front of where the ear sets. So it's a really, 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 really good rule to follow to stay behind the ear, okay? Because we've got some really solid muscles back here that need some love, that don't have any exposed nerves, arteries, airways, all of those things that we really don't want to push on. Stay below the ear and behind it. So massaging up, 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 Another technique you can use here is a little bit of this pinching if your hands can handle it. I just call it pinching, where I've got my thumb on one side of her spine and my fingers on the other. And then I'm just kind of pinching and rolling at the same time, kind of a cross between crab claw and kneading. Now when you get to the top of the neck, the base of the skull, when you feel that bony ridge, there are enough muscles covering that bone that it's really okay to massage over that. There's a group of muscles right along here called the subocs that just love some love. So feel free to hang out there for a little while. Now the neck is another place where you can use the body ball. For this one I use the little ball because it's a smaller space, you know. The curvature of the ball allows for a pretty small area that I'm pushing on anyway, but I just prefer, you know, if I'm in a tight spot, to use the smaller ball. I'll either hold it up closer in my fingers, because you know I use my fingers in this spot anyway, or I'll use a little bit of a rolling motion. So I'll put the ball, you know, here's her spine, I'll put it along the side, and then I'll have it here. So then this is getting a pretty good depth, and you can see how little effort it's taking my arm. And if I do it where I'm holding it in my fingers, see, it's the same amount of kneading, but the ball is doing it and not my fingers. And then getting up along the skull, I found I can actually give a lot more pressure with the ball because my fingers aren't at an awkward angle. And then when you're ready to transition to the other side, you want to be sure to do this slowly because they're nice and relaxed and they're used to having the support. So if you just drop your arm, then you're going to startle them. You might kind of kink their neck, you know, because you're dropping the support that they've had. So you want to slowly and very deliberately move their head, because if you're kind of uncertain of where you're going, then they will be uncertain of where you're going, and then they're going to start flexing their neck to try and get it into the spot that they think you want it in. I like to put my other hand on, and then I lift my arm, put this one down, ta-da, there's the transfer. And now I'm free to work this side of the neck. At this point, you want to repeat, repeat, repeat. You may be feeling that everything you're doing is a little monotonous, boring, repetitive. And if you are, then you are spot on. That's part of the beauty of a great massage. Doing repetitive movements can actually be a very strong tool because it allows you to go over and get that deep relaxation in the muscles without being too aggressive. You're able to maintain that nice relaxation that you've gotten them into while still getting those deeper layers of muscle that are causing them issues. Now we're to one of the most relaxing things that the shoulder massage offers, and that is scalp massage. This is something that everybody loves, and it gets them into a very deep relaxed state. So in a sitting massage situation, I don't ever do the entire scalp because they get too relaxed and then they're bobbleheading around and they might strain something or undo some of that relaxation that you've just given to them. I do the same rule that I do with the neck, which is I don't go beyond the ears. So I'll draw a line from the top of their skull down to their ears, and then this back here is the area that I address with a scalp massage. Now you're going to want to support their head, especially because you're going to be pushing here, you know, and that's going to be causing them to flex their neck. So the way that I support the head is I take my palm and, you know, my fingers and I put that against their forehead. Now be sure that you're not going over their eyes and their nose. If you need to bend over and look and check, then do. I'm going to place my hand and just gently rest it on her forehead. I'm not pushing against it right now. I'm going to give even pressure with both hands as soon as I start the massage so that her head just stays in the same place and I'm not pushing it back and forth because that will get irritating very quickly. So hand on the forehead, and then there are two techniques that we're going to do along the skull for her, and we're going to start down at the bottom and go up to the top. And the first, I call it stripes and dots, then subocs. So the subocs you're already familiar with, they're the ones that are at the base of the skull, and that's where we start all of the techniques. So the stripes is where we're going to take our fingers as the stripes, and we're just going to go up, okay? And I like to do what I call my little wiggle worm motion, so I do this as I'm moving up. So it kind of hits those muscles a little extra okay? And then the dots is where I'm gonna draw dots with my fingertips. And that's more random. I don't tend to do that in any particular pattern, but still with slow movements. I demonstrated that kind of fast, but I don't move quickly when I'm doing it on the person. So my fingers will kind of disappear under her hair, but you've seen what it is that I'll be doing. Find the base of the skull. And I would say I'm giving about a medium pressure. You want to be careful not to push too hard because that can be uncomfortable, particularly if there is someone who's prone to headaches, then these muscles can be a little tender. It's always a good idea to check in with your person, and it's really easy. It looks like this. Hey Linz, does that feel okay? So then I finger crawl all the way up to the point of her skull, and then I release that and come over and do this line. And then I keep the one hand, I don't switch back and forth on the scalp. I just kind of take myself and orbit around their head while I'm doing it. And then I start the circles, and I still start down at the base of the skull, down at the subox. So you really want to give them some love. You can do this where your fingers are spread apart pretty far, or do it where they're more close together. It doesn't really matter. You can feel out, what technique works best for you. Make it your own, really personalize it. And you can get some good feedback, and in no time, oh, this is gonna be your own thing. Okay, so now that we've got them nice and relaxed with a scalp massage, we're going to be very careful about releasing the head, because remember, they're very relaxed at this point. So we're gonna stop massaging and kind of support with both hands again, and then lift away at the same time so that they have a second to kind of stabilize their own head and realizing, oh, they're letting go, I gotta hold my head again. Now we're down to the last step, which is grounding. Grounding is very important to do. Do not skip this step, okay? You've done a lot of work to get them into la la land, where they're floating around and deeply involved in this relaxation area. Grounding does two things. It brings them back in a very pleasing way so that they're able to feel awake and happy to move around again without feeling irritated by being pulled out of that relaxation too quickly. And also it helps them deal with the crushing blow that you in fact won't be continuing for hours. So this is what grounding looks like. At the beginning we use the soft, slow motions, right? Grounding is the very opposite. So we're gonna use quick and swift movements. Still gentle though, okay? We don't wanna be jarring, just abrupt. So there's 3 different techniques that I'm gonna show you that work for grounding. I call it wiggle fingers, paintbrush, and then cupping or chopping. So they're really in a deep state of relaxation. And I'll start at the top of the head and just very lightly, I'm barely touching her skin. Just wiggle my hand back and forth, okay? So this is kind of the starting of a more alert movement, okay? So she's starting to come back awake now. And I brush my fingers off. And then I step into the paintbrush, which is just essentially using your fingers like a paintbrush. And then I don't do anything more on the top of the head, just that first really light one. So the paintbrush is kind of like you're dusting something off their shoulders. And then the last one, you just want to be careful not to do over any organs. Now in this situation, I really can't, but like over the kidneys, you don't want to do, it's called percussion. You don't want to use a percussion movement over that area. So if more of their back is exposed, just make sure that you don't go below the shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades, with percussion. The other movements are fine, just not percussion. So with percussion, we're going to cup our hands, okay? Like we're cupping them to hold water, and just lightly tap. And that's what that looks like. And then we can turn to the karate chop and use both hands. Remember to be very light with this. You're not wanting to beat them. This is just stimulating their nerves. You're not trying to reach any sort of depth with muscles in this one. But it is really fun to see how fast you can go. This is not sped up. I'm really this good. After you're done with that, then you can give them a final pat and let them know, okay, they're finished.
Thank you so much for working with me. Please send me feedback and let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Take care.
So I promised you a deal on the body ball at the end of this video. Here it is.